Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So today I'm going over the current 2020 Senate map. I've done this video a few times, but I want to go over it again because I feel like a lot of things have changed in the last few weeks or so. And I think it was important for me to update you guys on what's going on. So, start off, Democrats do have the advantage, in my opinion, in this election for the Senate. Democrats currently have 35 seats that are not up. Republicans have 30. There are 35 seats up, and I think it's something like 24 to I think 24 to 11 or something like that, or 24-9 or something like that. Like, there's a crazy majority of seats that Republicans have to defend versus what Democrats have to defend. So that's why it's important to talk about it this time around, because I think Republicans were favored in 2018 and Democrats were favored in 2016, and they're favored now in 2020 as well in terms of how the map is looking. So I'm going to go from east to west and just get into it. Maine, I'm going to put as a toss-up right now because I do want to come back to it. Maine's an interesting state that could definitely determine the control of the majority of the Senate, so I want to talk about it a little more. The state of New Hampshire, Jeanne Shaheen, I'll put that in the likely margin. Jeanne Shaheen is going to probably be reelected in a likely margin. The New Hampshire Senate primaries on September 8th, which is Tuesday. I'm not sure if I'll upload this video before or after that, but I plan to do this video and then maybe a recap video after that. Republican candidates either going to be Corky Messner or Don Bolduc. I'd probably put my money on Corky Messner. That's why I think he's going to win the primary, but regardless, I think Jeanne Shaheen's going to win that race, probably by a big margin either way. Massachusetts, Ed Markey just won the primary versus Joe Kennedy, which, despite what the polls said, to me that was still kind of a surprise because I thought last name McKennedy in Massachusetts, how could you go wrong? But Ed Markey pulled it out. He won the primary. A lot of youth vote turnout, and that led to Ed Markey winning the primary. He'll go on to face Republican Kevin O'Connor in the general election, which is going to be most likely a solid win for Ed Markey. Rhode Island would be safe, as will Cory Booker in New Jersey and Delaware as well. The state of Virginia, Mark Warner going up against Daniel Gade. I could see it potentially being like 2014 where it gets close out of nowhere, but I think Mark Warner, relatively popular incumbent. Virginia is not as Republican as it used to be. It'll probably be a safe margin for the popular Mark Warner. West Virginia, I think, will be safe. Shelley Moore Capito. Richard Ojeda is not the candidate for the Democratic side, so it's going to be safe for the GOP. Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, I'm convinced Mitch is going to win again. He's going to win big. Mitch McConnell, he's proven to win big even when he's not popular. Amy McGrath isn't necessarily the best candidate the Democrats could have run against Mitch. She's not as well liked as many thought at the beginning, so Mitch McConnell is probably going to win here. Tennessee, I would put in the safe column as well for the GOP. Not much to talk about there. South Carolina, Lindsey Graham versus James Harrison. I know there's some polls that are like, ooh, is it tied? No, it's not. Lindsey Graham's going to win big, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's by a safe margin on election day. North Carolina, North Carolina, I do want to put in the toss-up column. I do want to talk about that one a little later as well. Alabama, I feel comfortable at this point putting it in the safe column. I think that Tommy Tuberville is going to beat Doug Jones. I don't think it's going to be close, especially in a presidential election year where turnout in Alabama is going to be way up. I fully expect Tommy Tuberville to win big in Alabama. Cindy Heidspeth in Mississippi, she'll win there. Bill Cassidy in Louisiana, he'll win there big. And Tom Cotton, who I don't believe has a Democratic opponent right now, he'll win safe in Arkansas as well. Dick Durbin in Illinois, he will win big in the state of Illinois. Iowa, I'm going to come back to because that's definitely a toss-up I want to talk about. Michigan, I'll come back to as well. I'll come back to Minnesota as well. South Dakota is going to be safe for the GOP. Nebraska as well. Polling in Kansas is really close right now between Roger Marshall and Barbara Bollier, or Nancy Bollier. I feel like I'm messing the name up. I think I'm definitely messing it up. I think it's Nancy Bollier. But either way, Kansas, we saw this in 2014 where the polls were close, but then it ended up going big for the Republicans on Election Day. I see Roger Marshall doing that and winning Kansas pretty much no problem, despite what the polls say. Oklahoma, I'd put Oklahoma as safe for GOP. This might be an unpopular one. I see John Cornyn winning pretty big in Texas. It's going to be borderline likely to safe column. Borderline likely to safe column. I really don't see MJ Hagar doing enough to beat John Cornyn, who's far more popular than Ted Cruz is. So I think Texas goes pretty close to safe this time around. Wyoming will go safe for the GOP, as will Idaho. Montana, Steve Daines, Steve Bullock. That's going to be one to fight. That's going to be one to talk about. We'll come back to that. Colorado, I could call now, but I want to go back to that as well. New Mexico, I think will be safe for the Democrats. Arizona, like Colorado, I could characterize it, but I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit more. Jeff Merkley in Oregon will go for the Democrats, and Dan Sullivan in Alaska, I think will go safe for the GOP. So, oh, I missed Georgia as well. I'm sorry, and Georgia's 2 seats I want to talk about. So Republicans will have 46 seats right now. Democrats have 44. So I'll start out with the two out west, Colorado and Arizona. Colorado first. Cory Gardner, I've said before, I think Cory Gardner is one of the best GOP Senate campaigners. He's a very good campaigner. He's very hard to beat. However, he's in Colorado, which is a state President Trump is not highly approved of. He's voted with Trump 90% of the time, which for a GOP senator in any other state, that'd probably be a good thing. But in Colorado, which is going to vote for Joe Biden, that's not really good for Cory Gardner. Plus, he's going up against John Hickenlooper, who's still a relatively popular former governor. I see Colorado going to John Hickenlooper in the likely to lean margin, and I'm comfortable putting it in the likely margin for now. State of Arizona, Mark Kelly, Martha McSally. Martha McSally is the nominee again. She isn't too well liked. The polling data is reflecting it. She's getting beat big. Even where Trump's performing relatively close to Joe Biden within 2 to 3 points, Martha McSally is getting blown out. Arizona is going to go likely for Mark Kelly over Martha McSally, and Arizona will have 2 Democratic senators for the first time in a very, very long time. Now, the state of Minnesota. Minnesota is interesting because the polling data does show it's getting a lot closer, which could lead to a potential really close race. And I'll be honest, I am kind of buying into the fact that it's going to be close. I am buying into it. Tina Smith, I also looked up, has not gone over 50% in any one of her elections since she's become senator. So I'm putting Minnesota in the lean column to now, which is very generous for Jason Lewis, I think. Jason Lewis has the potential to make it close. It all depends on how President Trump does in the state. If President Trump does well, Jason Lewis could be within striking distance. However, Tina Smith is still the favorite to win as of now. The state of Georgia, David Perdue versus Jon Ossoff. I have that race as lean as of right now. I think that it could potentially be close. It's probably closer to likely than to tilt, but I think David Perdue is favored to beat Jon Ossoff right now. I don't think it'll be a runoff. I think David Perdue will win outright on Election Day. Then the other special election in Georgia, Kelly Loeffler, Doug Collins, Matt Lieberman, and another candidate whose name's escaping me for some reason. I don't know why. I think that race will go to a runoff. I could see Doug Collins winning the primary, going up against either one of the Democrats or Kelly Loeffler, surprisingly. I see Doug Collins winning and winning in a lean margin for that Senate seat. The state of Michigan, I'll talk about now. Michigan, John James has really narrowed the gap in the last month or few weeks or so. He's making this race a lot closer. However, Gary Peters is still not really too unpopular. A lot undecided vote. I still see Gary Peters as a favorite to hold on and win that race as of right now. I'll put it in the lean margin, but like Minnesota, it's probably closer to likely than tilt. But keep an eye on Minnesota and Michigan if Republicans try and make plays there for potential toss-ups, or for pickups, I mean. So we have 4 seats left: Montana, Iowa, North Carolina, and Maine. The one I'm feeling most sure about is Montana. I think Montana right now will go to Steve Daines over Steve Bullock. We've seen Steve Daines start to overperform his numbers in previous months in the polls. I think Steve Daines is popular enough to hold on and beat the popular retiring governor, Steve Bullock. I think it'll be very, very close come Election Day, but I still think Steve Daines is able to hold on there. Now we come down to the state of Maine. Susan Collins, Sarah Gideon. Susan Collins was popular every other election before this. America is becoming very, very polarized. And not to mention her vote on Brett Kavanaugh really hurt Susan Collins, I think. And that still lingers in the back of a lot of voters' minds in Maine, particularly suburban women voters who are starting to trend away from Trump and the Republicans, going more Democrat. As of now, I think Susan Collins will narrowly lose this race in the lean margin. That will make Republicans 49, Democrats 49. And right now we have 2 seats left. We have Joni Ernst versus Teresa Greenfield in Iowa. This race has gotten really, really close and has come out of nowhere for me. I thought Joni Ernst had this one in the bag. It's really, really close. But I'm still going to give the edge to Joni Ernst come Election Day. I just think that with President Trump likely winning Iowa, by at least 4 or 5 points. I think that'll be enough to help Joni Ernst win in Iowa. Now, the state of North Carolina, I've gone back and forth on this. I'm tempted to put it, I've given it to Cal Cunningham in the past. I'm tempted to leave it as a pure toss-up as of right now because it is so close. Some polls show Cal Cunningham up 7, some show him up 2, some show Tillis up 1. It's really close. But right now I'm going to leave it as a pure toss-up and just leave it at that and leave the fate of the Senate majority up to the state of North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.